Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Bhidiyate. Shraddha Kidarshi Guru Vedanta Vakyadishu Vishwasaha Shraddha. So, in other words, what is trust? What does it mean to have faith? It is having, what is trust? It is the belief in the words. It's the trust in the words or the conduct within the Vedanta text as expounded by the Guru. So this is trust. Okay? And then we said, samadhanam kim chittaikagrata. So, yeah, so we stopped here, right? We said samadhanam. So same kind of putting in is concentration. That means thoughts relative to the same topic ongoingly for a certain amount of time. Now it says here chitta, so it's actually chitta ekagrata, it's a sandhi. So in other words, what capacity to absorb the mind in a topic for a length of time. It's a capacity. It develops. It's not going to be perfect at all times, but one is invested. One has some investment to at least expand it or extend it just a little bit longer. And this is easy done. This can be done through a little bit of meditation, a little bit of calming the mind before we begin. When it comes to learning, in accelerated learning, what are we told? We're told that the brain operates through beta, alpha, theta, and delta brainwaves. And it says that when you're really absorbing things, when you're just in the zone, and if you were to look at your brainwaves, they will be operating not at beta, they will be operating in alpha brain state. What is alpha brain state? It is when, if the beta would be like this, so alpha would be more wider. So this means the brain has slowed down. And monks who were, put, on these instruments to look at their brains, what's happening with their physical brains when they're actually in their samadhi, then what happens? This brain wave slows significantly down. And even painters, Michelangelo, you've got Beethoven, you've got Mozart, all of them, have something in common. They were relaxed. And in their relaxation, they were able to receive huge amounts of inspiration. And so now what happens? If you want to be inspired, not only are you going to have or enjoy a focused length of time, but at the same time, you're going to have thoughts that are deeper than usual. And how do you do this? How to gain thoughts that are deeper than usual? Not only can one do practices, but also lifestyle. So lifestyle also has some relative importance, because if you're in a lifestyle that just doesn't allow you to, sort of sit down and concentrate, then is it not fair to say that it is our duty to create some boundaries and say, this is my time, it's important to me, I value my own time, and therefore, in that short amount of time, we can focus for a length of time, relax, take a few breaths, and let the brain slow down. In fact, the best way to learn, how do we learn? We just pick up a book and we start reading. This is highly unproductive, because the brain, for the most part, is what? In a state of survival. It's in a state of doing. That is called the beta brainwaves. So the first thing when one wants to learn is to at least sit down, we are talking at least 10 seconds. You can definitely do that. And the changes are already significant. Just a few seconds to slow the brain down is enough to increase this concentration. So you can see, it is information on one hand, but on the other hand, there is a practice mode involved here. And this is something I've also been doing for many years now, because who teaches us how to learn in school? We just learn, but no one teaches us how to learn. And so how to learn is an amazing subject of itself. In fact, how to learn is very much related to lifestyle, to managing your emotions, to managing your environment. So they're very close together. And so now this chitta, agata, so what, now how is single pointedness possible? Would single pointedness be possible if one's life is, one hasn't kind of made their life in order? Their life is sort of, they have something in their background that they're concerned about. Is this possible to have concentration in that kind of a lifestyle? You see? So in other words, what? It's not just about take a deep breath and slow down your brain, because if I do that and my life is unresolved, then even in the 10 seconds, what's going to happen? I'm not going to get a break from those things that are yet to be resolved in my life. So you can see the incredible amount of connection that one has over the other. It's just, there's no sort of just focus on this. In fact, now the question is, because we're coming to the end, if you were to choose one that you personally feel attracted to, we all have a personal connection to one of these, shama, dhamma, okay, what? So mind management, sense management, we have we have faith, we have, what else do we have? We have endurance, okay? So now, which one of these do you feel attracted to? So what it says really is you only need to pick one. You only need to pick one, and the rest will follow, because the one influences the rest. It's like a synergy. The one influences the rest of them. So now this is another homework, and the homework is, what is it that, which one do you read and you go, this one is for me. And this is the one to write down and just simply dedicate, suppose, let's say, one day. Remember the Kaizen principle. Not 1 week, that's already too long. 1 day, this is very manageable. When you succeed for 1 day, what happens? Some more dopamine, right? I've succeeded 1 day. I can now do this for 2 days. Yes, so again, we are strategically managing our minds like this. So again, one of these is to be, ideally, we are being invited to practice. Okay, we are being invited to practice at least one of these. Okay, next. Mumukshutvam kim. Mumukshutvam kim. Moksho me bhuyat. Moksho me bhuyat. Iti icha. Iti icha. So now, kim, so who or what, who is a mumukshu? This tvam, so mumukshu is the one who is desirous of liberation. And now when you put the word tvam in front of any word, it means the one who is in the state of, and then whatever that word comes before. So the one who is in the state of desiring liberation. So who is that one who is in a mindset of desiring liberation? And this, now it says what? Moksha, me, so me is me, and then bhuyat. So bhuyat in Sanskrit is a benedictive. A benedictive, it's a grammar. It means it's an affirmation, like may this be, like this shall be so. This is, and with an exclamation mark. So this shall be so. So now when it says moksha me bhuyat, so may is for me. So what? May moksha be true for me. May moksha become true for me. So now this is what? A affirmative statement said with authority. So in other words, it's not, moksha, okay, cool. Yeah, it is, there is power behind it. There is some drive behind it. So moksha me bhuyat, right? May moksha be for me. When? Next life? No, this janma, this life. So now, so what else does this mumukshu, the one who is in the state, the one who is in the mindset of understanding that may moksha be for me, what else? So what now? They realize, they recognize what is required. They have some relative knowledge, what is required when we say moksha and what is not necessary. What is necessary, what is somewhat necessary, and what is absolutely necessary. So this confusion what is necessary, what is somewhat necessary, and what is absolutely necessary. This is the confusion that haunts beginners. Now, we're not, I don't know, mostly of us, very advanced or somewhere in between, right? So now, imagine a fella who is a desire of liberation, and then say what? Oh, someone's offering me what? I want to raise a snake. I want to, snake raising. So no, go and enlighten, go raise the sleeping serpent, let it raise through your sahasrara, and let it rest in your, shushumna, let it rest in your sahasrara, right? And now you go, oh, that's very, very interesting. I want that. And then someone offers you an experience in the Amazon jungle with some substances. And then what? We go there and then we go, oh, this is kind of cool. I've experienced eternity for 1 hour. How long did you experience eternity? I've experienced it for 2 hours. Next time I'll beat you and I'll experience it for 3 hours. Now, look at this. So in other words, whatever experience this mumukshu has, if they do not know what is absolutely necessary, then what's going to happen? Despite them being a mumukshu, they will make a mistake and they will look for the wrong things because no one's ever told them what is absolutely necessary. And so in other words, through more maturity, this person eventually tries this, tries that, tries this, and they eventually get so tired. In other words, it's called what? Negation. It doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And this is why the journey can last so long, because there's no other choice. You're not going to go up to and read a book, what's required for moksha. No one does that. So what happens? The individual does the same thing they've done in the real world, and that is to try real world experiences. Now they're trying what? Spiritual experiences. So now what eventually happens is they get so tired, so exhausted, realizing that nothing's really working. And that is when they almost kind of give up. And that is most of those times when, they say, the guru shows up in their life. And this is how it slowly happens. So now you think about this. Just because someone is searching and searching and searching, is it now fair to say they're lost souls and they're a lost soul? No, because every individual, including myself, was a, quote, lost soul in that regard. We were looking, we were going, we were trying, right? We met different teachers that told us this. We tried it with sincerity, nothing has worked, and finally one comes to Vedanta, realizing what is absolutely necessary. So now, from a little bit necessary to sort of necessary to absolute necessary, that journey can take lifetimes. And so this mumukshu, who may have been a seeker or a sincere adhikari, that's a better word, for lifetimes, but there's only this one lifetime when the search officially ends for a mumukshu. Now, what happens then when the search ends? Now they come to the knowledge. Now they understand that, even if I get nirvikalpa samadhi, then, that is an experience, but then eventually the individual comes back, and now what happens? Now you ask this yogi who had the nirvikalpa samadhi, okay, so you had an experience of oneness. But then what about this? How do you now dismiss this difference? How do you dismiss these differences? And they say, no, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go back to nirvikalpa samadhi because that is the true, Advaitam state. That's the true Advaitam place. So now what is the yogi doing? Now they're putting what? Look at this. Now they have an Advaita and they have Advaita. Right, I'm going to dismiss Advaita and I'm going to go into an Advaita state. So now that alone is another Advaita. That's another kind of a separate thinking of separation. So now you try to explain to them, yeah, but this is just an experience. It's very hard to convince this fella because when they come out of samadhi, there's even the word limitless, I tell you, doesn't do justice to the bliss of a nirvikalpa samadhi. So now, and then we're going to say to you what do you know about nirvikalpa samadhi? You use these words like, limitless and all this. What do you know about limitless? The word limitless has no meaning in these states. So now, even nirvikalpa samadhi, which is supposedly, according to Yoga Patanjali Sutra, supposed to be the highest accomplishment in the spiritual world, even that can become an obstacle. Can become an obstacle to the mumukshu. So just because someone's a mumukshu doesn't mean that we necessarily find and listen to someone and finally come to the knowledge part. So you see, what is involved to come eventually to this class, or any Vedantic class that finally sort of points out these flaws, these errors. So therefore, mukshu, So, things like what? Self-realization. What is the self? There's no self-realization. You don't realize the self. Realization, I just realized the door is open over there. Okay, now let me continue teaching. Oh, I just realized, there's some hens, cockatoos making sound outside. And then I continue my work. It's a one-off. Realize this. And then we bring this word realization into what? Into that which is permanent. So what now? Supposed to, okay, it's permanent. Okay, cool, let's move on. Let me make some dinner. So no, it's not self-realization, which has been unfortunately popularized. It is just self-knowledge. You're removing false notions, and through the removal of false notions, what happens? You discover you. And this discovery is what we call knowledge of that one who has always been here. And this is what we call self-knowledge. Knowledge of what? The self which has always been. Therefore, there is only self-knowledge, and this self-knowledge we call what? Atmanyanam, Brahma Vidya, Tattva Bodha. These are all the names. In fact, Tattva means reality, Bodha means knowledge. So this word is exactly the same as what? As Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahman. Atmanyanam, knowledge of Atman. So in other words, what is Tattva Bodha? What is this what is this say? What? Bodha, knowledge of reality. And what is reality? There's only one reality, we said. Nityam ekam vastu Brahma. So what is this reality? You're this reality. So in other words, this is you. This is talking about who you are. So now, let's see what it says when we get into the teaching. Okay, what else can we? Okay, so this mumukshu. So they know what's not involved. They know what's involved. What is involved? The mumukshu. What does the mature mumukshu say? What is involved? What is involved for moksha? What would the mature mumukshu say? What is involved for moksha? This is a question. We know what is not involved, right? Experiences, just short experiences. Then what is involved for moksha? What will we say?
Viveka.
Huh?
Viveka.
Discriminative inquiry. What else is involved for moksha? Knowledge, self-knowledge, okay? Removing the veils, removing notions which deny me from, accepting, this is all there is to it. There's nothing more than this. This is it. This is it, right? In other words, removing the notion that something needs to be different. So the something needs to be different implies what? There's a subject and there's an object. And the subject sees itself different from the object, and therefore what? The subject, has a want, and the object is the wanted, and therefore what? I want to come together with the object so that I can negate the temporary need, the temporary frustration to see myself different from this object. Therefore, what do I want to do? I want to merge myself with the object so that I can temporarily forget about the subject. I can temporarily forget about the wanter. And when the wanter is forgotten about, what happens? There's happiness. And this happiness is your nature. And therefore, what is everyone chasing in this world? Happiness. So what is everyone chasing in this world? Self. So in other words, how is everyone chasing this? By what? Trying to attacking objects, looking for objects. So what happens? When the object and the subject, they stand different, what happens? What do I want to do? I want to negate that difference, and what happens then? I come in touch with myself, and that's called happiness. Now Mumukshu knows this much. At least they can think this much. And now, removing veils that the subject and the object stand apart. In fact, why else do you look for objects in this world unless what? Unless you would think that this object, this thing over here is different from myself. That's the only logical other explanation. If I know that anyone here is absolute, has no difference from myself, then what? I have no desire. I have no desire to what? To hold on, to grab. In other words, the relationship changes to the world when there's an understanding that there's essentially no difference between this or 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 this. Okay? And therefore, by understanding this, what happens? The individual enjoys union, enjoys a state of non-separation. Through how? Through cognitive understanding. You understand? Through a cognitive understanding. And as we will see this very soon now. And then someone, suppose, says, you know what, I had ecstasy. I had ecstasy in meditation. It was wonderful. Okay? What would you say to that? I meditated and it was so wonderful and you should really meditate and you should attain what I've attained. Okay? Now you can object me to that. You can say something against that. What would you say?
It's an experience.
Yeah. Okay. Great stuff, man. How are you right now? Congratulations.
Where is it now?
Yeah. How are you right now?
Yeah.
What kind of place are you in now where you're telling me this? Well, never mind about that. I'm telling you about my memory. So you're telling me about a memory event. I want to know how are you right now. So in other words, no matter what ecstasy, what delights you have, for how long they last, it's irrelevant because the one who has experienced, they will always be there later to tell the story. But whatever story they tell is just a figment of the memory. In fact, if they got amnesia, or something, dementia, right, they could not tell their experience. Therefore now suddenly they will be invalidated. So in other words, one's experience entirely depends on what? The functioning of the memory. And the functioning of the memory can disappear like that. You just take the corpus callosum, you put it in half, right, the brain, two sides hemispheres of the brain, and now they can no longer communicate with each other. Therefore now I can no longer make proper connection or meaningful connections last time. So in other words, depending entirely for the brain structure to remain intact, for the memory to remain intact, and based on all of this, I say I've had an experience and I am enlightened. How shallow is this, right? It's totally depending on the physical body to be functioning properly. So now Vedanta doesn't depend on, your brain working or not. That's not the point, because they're enjoying a different, we're talking about a different order here, nityam and anityam, okay? So now mumukshu, has what? Has lost interest with experience. They have moved past that, and they just want now, to know who is this one that I am devoting to? Who is this one that I am dedicating myself to? What is this reality that they talk about? I want to know. So now, just like when you worship a god, what happens? We call this bhakti, devotion. Now, what happens? People worship, and you will see a lot of this happening in certain cultures. They will worship. Now, what happens? Who is this that you're worshiping? What would some people say? Well, I don't know, I'm worshiping God. Yeah, but who is this God that you're worshiping? I don't know, I'm just worshiping God. So in other words, no inquiry is lit up. The fire of inquiry is not lit up. So even if you try to light it up, it still doesn't get lit up. So now, eventually, the mumukshu, now their light, it's lit up. The fuel is lit up. And therefore, they say, who is it that I'm worshiping? And what is my relationship to that which is worshipped? What's the relationship between the worshipper and the worshipped? Okay, I want to know the relationship. And thus, what happens? The inquiry starts. Okay, and then, they have now a little bit more to go. Okay, next verse. Etat sadhana chatushtayam. Etat sadhana chatushtayam. Tataha tattva vivekasyadhikarinaha. Tataha tattva vivekasyadhikarinaha. Bhavanti. Bhavanti. So now, this is a concluding verse. and it's really just saying to go back to page what? Page 11. So therefore this is Sadhana Chatushtaya, and so thus by the gaining of this fourfold qualification, the adhikari gains the capacity to perform tattva viveka. So now I'm just going to go back to Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam. So in other words, let's just revise this verse. It starts with Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna. We're not going to chant it. I just want to analyze the statement. So now let's just go back. What have we analyzed so far? Sadhana Chatushtaya. Ticked. So therefore what? Part 1 of the book is finished. So what's the second part that we're going to enter now? Tattva Viveka Prakaram. So Tattva Viveka Prakaram, the method for Tattva Viveka, which leads to what? The third part of the book, the discussion takes place, moksha. Now the question is, to enter part 2, which we are entering now, inquiry into reality, what is required sadhana chatushtaya? What happens if one is not completely ready? This is the question being posed now. Okay, so sadhana chatushtaya done, but what happens if I'm not really ready? The answer is, what do you think?
It's intellectual.
Excellent, intellectual. And what does this mean? What does this mean? It means, a little bit deeper, is it's not going to have an emotional impact on my life. I'm not going to feel any different. I will know stuff, I've heard terms, but I'm not going to feel every day different. I'm not going to wake up and perceiving the world differently. I'm not going to feel different. I'm not going to feel any different when I'm in an argument or someone hurts me than as I felt before. Which is really interesting. The knowledge is there, everything's there, the complete vision is there, and yet the responses are the same, the impatience is still there, the reactions are still there, the judgments are still there, the same patterns are still there. The length of kind of, getting out of that tension when the argument has taken place, the length has not reduced at all. It's the same length, one day before, one day now. So in other words, if one doesn't have the full readiness, then you will know, one will know, yes, I've heard this and this and this and this, but my real question is, end of the day, when you're sitting in your chair and you're observing the nature, looking at the tree, are you feeling divinity? Do you feel divinity? Do you see, when I look into someone's eyes and understand the exact same eye that's looking through that eye is the exact same eye that's looking through my eye? And this knowledge is so firm, there is absolutely no doubt about it. The only thing that's different is just a different face, a different mind, a different program, a different face, a different mind, a different program, but the exact same self-evident I is looking, that knows itself from that standpoint, is the exact same I that knows itself from this standpoint. And that is true at all times, right now, right now, right now. The only thing that's different is what? The form. But the sense of this is sure, this is for sure. That has what? That has a direct impact on your being, In fact, look at this. They often say that, knowledge and experience, you have to experience who you are, right? You have to experience who you are. There's a truth to this statement, but it has to be worded differently in order to understand it properly. If you know something, for example, someone tells me about something pleasant about Sokyung, right? So now someone tells me something pleasant about Sokyung, and it's true, and I don't know Sokyung. Okay, so what? What have I gained? I've gained knowledge, intellectual knowledge. But now, now what? I was inspired by what I was told. So what has now that produced in me towards Sokyung? It's produced a genuine, emotional, consistent feeling related to the knowledge. So I know something about her, and what I feel about her is what? Is directly correlated with what I know about her. So now there is a two-way, so in other words, what? Experience follows knowledge. When you gain knowledge about something, What follows afterwards? What follows after knowledge? Natural experience. In other words, you cannot get away from it. So in other words, how do I know that this knowledge is working? Because the experience will tell me how I feel about myself right now. How do I feel about death? How do I feel about you? How do I feel about my foes, apparent foes, or those people that don't like me? How do I feel about my mom and dad? How do I feel about death? How do I feel about this world? That's what really counts. And so this is an indicator of this knowledge having taken place. Okay, part 2. Inquiry into the truth, into tattva, into reality. Tattva viveka kaha, tattva viveka kaha, atma satyam, tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. Tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. So, Atma. Let's look at this word Atma. What is Atma? Atma is the one who is now hearing this question, what is Atma? The one who is experiencing this question being asked, what is Atma? That one is Atma. Okay? The one who understands, the one who experiences, the one who cries, the one who is hurt, the one who is going through a lovely time, the one who is sometimes confused, the one who is looking, the one who is thinking, the one who is emoting, the one who is traveling, the one who goes to bed, who prepares the, ensures that the bed is warm, then gets up, the one who eats and then goes to the bathroom, the one who sneezes, the one who writes things down, the one who, Andre, we get the point, can you please move on? That one who just said that is also Atma. Okay, so Atma, in other words, the one who is just here, in whose presence experiences are taking place. Okay, now this term Atma will be refined. So now, I said Atma is this and this and this and this. Actually, this term, as we go through this, will be specifically refined. Just for the sake of, at the beginning, we say Atma is what? All of the things that I just said is Atma. Okay? So, what is Atma? In simple term, I am. Okay? I am. The one who sees. So, look at this. Knock, knock. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I am. Now, if I do a knock, knock, and you say, who's there? And I say, I am. And I come back 5 years later, and I go again, knock, knock.
Who's there?
I am. It's the exact same I. What's changed? What's changed? The body's changed. It's wrinkled. It's now maybe, I am. Maybe it's lost its voice, right? Right. So now the exact same I that was there 5 years ago, it's the same Atma that is right here, right now. So Atma. So this is Atma. Okay. Now, let's look at these words Satyam and Mithya. These are the essence of Vedanta, and they have to be understood to understand everything afterwards. So now, the word Satyam, now you need to pay attention to this because we're going into logic mode. And now we need to turn on our intellects. So we have turned on some emotions. Now we need to turn on another side, the one who is able to analyze the situation. So now this word Satyam and Mithya, it says Atma is Satyam and Tadanyat Sarva-Mithya. That means everything else other than Atma is Mithya. So in other words, Atma is Satyam, is what Nityam. Satyam is Nityam, is the truth, and everything other than Atma is Mithya. Now, before we get to the word Mithya, these words, Satya, see, the way that we describe reality, okay, in this world, we use certain words. And the words that we use are called ontological terms. Ontological terms. Now you say, oh geez, what's ontology? That's a big word. Ontology means the study of reality. The study of reality of a thing. So if you look at anything in this world, then this flower enjoys a certain reality. So now, whatever reality it enjoys, the study of the reality of this leaf or this plant is called ontology. So when I say ontological words, Satya is an ontological word. What I really mean is, Satya is what? Is an understanding, this ontological is an understanding of reality rather than an actual object in the world. So I'll say this again. There is no such thing as Satya or Mithya. There's no object called Satya or Mithya, okay? When we say ontology, we're just what? We're analyzing what is the truth, what is the nature of an object, what is the nature of the sun, what's the nature of the subject, what's the nature of the object. That's all it is. It's the study of existence that an object enjoys. Okay? So now, how does the world generally operate? It uses two words. It uses Satyam and it uses Tucham. Tuccham. Tucham. Satyam and Tucham. Tuccham. Okay. Now look at this. Satyam has two definitions. The first definition of Satyam is that which is empirically real. It's empirically true. So now this plant, it's empirically true. It grew from the earth. So there's no question of this, being fake. It's not a fake plant. So now, the sun, that is Satyam, it's empirically true. So when I say empirically true, what am I talking about? That which is publicly agreed upon. So all of us will publicly, we will all see the tree. We will all call it a tree. Okay, we will all call it, what animals do they have here? Ducks, maybe, I don't know. We will all call it a duck. Okay, so in other words, the duck, is empirically true. It comes from nature. That means what? It is a publicly agreed upon reality that we all agree upon publicly. That's the first definition of Sat. The second is it exists. It just enjoys existence. It enjoys existence. So there's a slight discernment there. One is it's empirically true. The other is it exists. For example, does this cup exist right now? Yes. So in other words, what? This cup is Satyam. Okay? Does this floor that you're standing on exist? Yes. So therefore the floor is Satyam. Does your own body exist? Yes. Therefore your body is Satyam. Do you exist? Yeah. Therefore you are Satyam. Does the door exist? Yes. So it's Satyam. Okay? So first, empirically true, and second, it exists. The second is Tucham. What does Tucham mean? It means, number one, it's fake. So now, this is why I brought this thing here. It looks nice, doesn't it? This is for my house in Australia. And it looks really beautiful. Maybe if you put some spray on it, you will really think it's real. But believe it or not, it is not real. It's not empirically true. Okay, it is what? I went out and I saw a real flower and I replicated it using materials, synthetic materials like plastic. So now, in other words, this flower is fake. What I mean fake is it's a replica of an empirically true flower. So there's a flower outside that grew from the ground. I looked at it and go, I want to create something like that. And so I did. And therefore now, what kind of ontological status does this flower enjoy? Tucham, okay? What kind of ontological status does this plant enjoy? Satyam, okay? So now the second definition of Tucham is it is non-existent. What do you mean by this non-existent? Because now suppose I give you an example. For example, sky flowers, right? Sky flowers. Now, sky flowers, does that empirically exist? No, you're not going to look up and see flowers growing out of the sky. But the flowers exist. Does the sky exist? So what happened here? The mind took two empirically true objects and they put it together, and now they call it sky flowers. So this means what? There's no such thing as non-existence. Because I can say the sky flowers doesn't exist, but what it actually does exist. What exists? The flowers exist and the sky exists. So now, but what did I do? I used my imagination to combine them together, and thus I created something that's, quote, non-existent. But it's actually what? It's actually existent. So now look at this. Can you think of something that is non-existent?
Horns of a man.
Huh?
Horns of a man.
Yeah, so rabbit horns, horns of a man, but horns exist, man exists, and so what did the mind do? It combined the two together, and that's called what? Subjectivity. And that's, in other words, in the mind it exists, but empirically it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the real world. We have many examples like this square circle. Now the point is not whether you can imagine. I can't imagine square circle, but I can imagine sky flowers. That's not the point. Square and a circle exist. What did the mind do? It puts them together, and therefore square circle. Square circle is this. What kind of ontological status does it enjoy? Satyam or Tucham? Tucham. Why Tucham?
Empirically, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, because it actually doesn't exist, you see? But it actually does exist. Okay, so we have to know the slight distinction here. Now, there's a nice story in the scriptures. It goes, once upon a time, there was a man who was bathing, showering in mirage water. And after he finished bathing, he wanted to embellish himself, polish himself up. Maybe it was a woman, we don't know, okay. He wanted to polish herself up. And so she took some flowers from the sky, and she put it around her ears. Now, I know it's a man now, because after, what did he want to do? He wanted to go hunting. So what? He made an arrow out of rabbit horns. And now this is very interesting. Now, who saw this? Who saw this? Well, a blind man saw this. Who heard this? A deaf man heard this. You see, look at this. Not possible, not possible, not possible, not possible. The whole story is Tucham. This is called a Tucham story. It's all made up. So in other words, this is a Tucham story. It is not a Satyam story. So now, we have what? Two words how we work in reality. It either exists or it doesn't exist. It's fake. Now, you understand? It either exists or it doesn't exist. Now, how does the world generally look at things? It's like this, it's like that. Black, white, black, white. It's either, you either support climate change or you're the one who polluting the climate change. Black, white. What about the in-betweens? So what does this do? If I operate from two ontological terms in this world, what kind of thinking is this establishing? Shallow thinking. It's either real or it's fake. And that's my only two choices. Now, so I want to ask you a question. What is the purpose of these two words? What do these two words, ontological words, do? What's the purpose of this inquiry, of these two ontological terms? What do you think? What's the purpose behind this discussion?
To find the truth.
Hmm?
To find the truth.
To find the truth, okay. How about more immediately? Subjectivity and objectivity also. It is to what? It's to reveal your understanding of reality. It's to demonstrate your understanding of reality. So in other words, when you call something satyam or tucham, what is that showing? It shows what kind of understanding you have in reference to an object. So if I say the grass is what? Satyam, what am I saying? The grass is satyam. It means what? The grass empirically exists, or the grass exists. Okay? The hen exists. So it's simple. Reveals your understanding of reality. Now, let's go continue this inquiry. These two words are not suffice to explain the multi-faceted reality. Suppose, look at this. Suppose we have suppose we have a shirt, okay? In fact, we do have a shirt here, okay? Now, what status does this shirt enjoy? What's the ontological status? Satyam, right? Satyam, because it exists, right? It's got a function. It exists. We see it, and there's no doubt about that. Okay. So now, suppose we take a strand, and we start to pull this strand of cotton slowly out, and this shirt starts to, from top to bottom, slowly go away, start to disappear. Okay. And now you just see this, Satyam shirt going da 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 da, and there's what? A bigger and bigger cotton, fluffy ball of cotton. Now, the cotton, what ontological status does the cotton enjoy? Satyam. Understand? Can you say the cotton is tucham? No, because it empirically exists. I'm holding it. What status does the shirt now enjoy? Remember, the shirt is gone. Stick with these two words, satyam or tucham. No, we don't know what this is. What status does the shirt enjoy, knowing you only have two options? Is this shirt, which is gone, there's no shirt by the way, can you call the shirt satyam? No. Where's the shirt? Where's the shirt? It's gone, so there's no question of calling it satyam. Can you call the shirt tucham? Yes. No, because see, the shirt is what? Just a moment ago, I was calling the shirt satyam. Now, where's the question of suddenly it's taking what? A tucham status. Tucham means it's what? It's either fake. There's no question of calling this fake. And there's no question of calling this non-existent. I'm not imagining the shirt like sky flowers or the square circle. So can you call the shirt tucham? No, because while you were wearing it, you were not imagining wearing a shirt. You were wearing a satyam shirt that empirically existed. Yes. So now, it's gone. It's gone. Yeah, it's gone now. So the shirt is not what? It's not satyam. It is not tucham. So now there's a problem here. What ontological status do we give to that which is neither satyam nor tucham? So now the Veda comes in and what introduces a third ontological order, which is called Mithya. Mithya. It says, the shirt is Mithya. And you're like, what is Mithya? Can you explain that? And what does Vedanta say? Mithya is neither satyam nor is it tucham. It has an in-between or ontological order. It means that while the shirt was what? Existing, actually it was while the shirt was existing, where did it have its dependence in? Where was its dependence in? What was the shirt depending upon? It was depending upon something other than the shirt. It was depending on something other than the word shirt. It was depending upon what? The cotton. So now what? The shirt lost its status of satyam. What has gained status of satyam? The cotton. What status has the shirt gained now? The shirt which is neither satyam nor tucham. This shirt has gained mithya. Why has it gained mithya? More specific, more specific.
There in the cotton.
It's
there.
well, it's not. There is. I mean, there's there's no shirt. There's no shirt in the cotton, because this means if I go to the store and I say I want to buy some cotton, they don't bring me back a shirt. They bring me back cotton. So now, what status does a shirt enjoy? We say it enjoys mithya. Why does it enjoy mithya? Because mithya means that which has its dependence upon something else. Without the cotton, can you have the shirt? No. Therefore, the shirt being dependent upon something else for its existence, without which the shirt cannot be, for that reason, the shirt is what? Mithya. You cannot call the shirt, now knowing this, when you bring in what? Mithya, you can no longer call the shirt what? Satyam. Because why? Why can you no longer call the shirt Satyam? What's your answer? Because it depends. Now, what kind of understanding is this? That it depends on cotton. We call this what? A cognitive understanding. So now look at this. Do I need to remove the shirt to know the cotton?
No.
Why not?
The whole shirt is cotton.
I can see it's cotton.
Okay, you can see cotton. Why else? No, okay, more than seeing, suppose it was a slightly more complex example and you don't see the cotton, but you understand it what? By knowledge. So it's more, so by knowledge I understand that this shirt has no existence apart from the cotton. Therefore, that which is independent, what? Is Satyam, and everything else that depends upon it is what? Mithya. So therefore, the shirt, depending upon the cotton, naturally becomes mithya, and its truth, the truth of the shirt, the actual substance of the shirt, is now what? Satyam. So therefore, Satyam is the content from which the mithya enjoys its existence. In other words, the content from which mithya enjoys its existence. In other words, the shirt enjoys what kind of existence? Cotton existence. Without the cotton, can you have the shirt? No, absolutely not. So now, if you keep going like this, suppose you go on and on and on. Don't stop at the cotton. Never mind the cotton. You can now analyze the cotton. What's cotton made out of? You don't have to know science. Oh, let me go and research. What's going. You don't have to be this smart. We don't need to be. We don't know. But let's say the cotton is made of what it is, cellulose, because anything from plant has some cellulose there. It's a molecule. So now this cotton is actually what? Dependent upon cellulose molecules. You may not know it, but it's true. I mean, if you look further into it. So now this cotton had status of what? Satyam. But now upon investigation, you discover what? It too has a dependent reality. So therefore, what happened to its Satyam status? It fell away and it became what? Mithya. And what gains Satyam? That which has it, that which out of which this cotton is made from. Therefore, in this case, what? The cellulose. And you go, good, I've solved the problem. And then instruments come and they look further into the cellulose and they go, no, you got atoms. You got atoms. What about this? Okay, fine. Atoms can become the Satyam, the cellulose can become the Mithya. Are you finished now? We can go home? No. The atom has got what? It's got atomic nuclei. You got a proton, neutron, and electron. Okay. So now you go, okay, no problem. So we can call that, now atom Mithya and the atomic nuclei Satyam. And then you keep on going further and further to the point where instrumentation can no longer see, it becomes mere hypotheses. It becomes mere hypotheses. Now, what does so in other words, what? The smallest became mithya and hypotheses became satyam. But here's a question. What are hypotheses? Thoughts. They're just thoughts. Without you, what is there to say about a hypothesis? So now what does the thought depend upon? Thought depends upon you, the one who's there looking at that thought, kind of going and, in numbers, going, this is a number, this is how it is, so what? Now you become what? Satyam, and even the thought becomes mithya. And now you go, oh my God, now, okay, fine, let me reduce myself further. Let me reduce myself. And then you try and try and try, and you just can't reduce yourself. Why not? Because there's always someone that's present to your failures of reducing yourself. One failure after another, I can't reduce myself further. I'm always present to any kind of attempt to reduce or to negate myself. And then what does this mean? It means what? Atma satyam tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. In other words, everything other than that one who can no longer be reduced is what? Mithya. And the final truth is what? That which cannot be reduced, which is you. Because what? If you reduce yourself, then what? You say, oh, I've reduced myself. Yeah, but okay, how is that possible? Because how can you tell me you reduced yourself? Who saw that? Who was there to see that, the reduction of yourself? Oh, I saw that. Well, then you haven't reduced yourself, You've only reduced an idea of yourself, but you've not reduced yourself. So therefore, what? Atma satyam tadanyat sarvam mithya iti. Everything else, after that one, which is non-negatable, ever present, is what? The final satyam. And everything else after that, including concept of space and time. Okay, fine. Look, okay, what about space and time? Oh, okay, can we reduce that? How can you reduce space and time? Well, you can. Where's space? Where's time in your deep sleep? Where is that in your deep sleep? So what, is there time? You go, I can hardly wait to get out of this deep sleep. No, there's absolutely zero time in deep sleep. So in other words, you can even reduce what? Dream, what? Dream depends on who? Dream depends on you. The one who, wakes up and then later on has a nightmare, and then it says, oh, I had a dream. Okay, so what? What was negated? What was mithya? The dream was mithya, depending upon whom? The one who continues and enters another state called the waking state. So what? I, the satyam, was there in the dream, and then the dream got negated. In other words, the dream was what? Depending upon me, and now the dream is gone, and now I am there, still available to witness my entry into what? My entry into the waking, and my departure from the dream state. So in other words, you cannot reduce yourself. Now, what does it say here? Okay, now. So shirt and cotton. Let's just look at this a little bit deeper. Suppose person 1 says this is shirt, and person 2 says this is cotton. Okay? Person 1 says this is shirt, person 2 says this is cotton. We got a problem here. Either they can both be right, they're both wrong, or I'm going to put the or later. Let's see if we can solve the problem. Either they're both wrong or they're both right. Suppose I say they're both wrong. Is that true? Why not? Well, because at least the fella with the shirt is right. At least he's right. So that negates they're both wrong. How about this? Remember, this is a shirt, this is cotton. Okay, two different opinions. They're both right.
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Depends how you read.
Are shirt and cotton synonyms?
No.
No. If they were both right, this means I can go to the store and I can ask for a shirt and they will give me back what? Cotton. Or I can go to a store and order some cotton and they will bring me back a shirt. So how can you say they're both right?
Because one is a special form of the other.
It cannot be both right because they enjoy a totally different order of reality. One enjoys shirt, one enjoys cotton. When you speak of the shirt, you know what? So it is, right now it's a shirt. Remember, person one said it's a shirt. I believe person one was a shirt, right? When he said that, it was not cotton. It was a shirt. So how can they both be right? You understand? Why we say, okay, so person one says this is a shirt. Person two says this is cotton. Person, okay, what is this actually? It's a shirt. Fine, it's a shirt. It is also cotton. But then by definition, they're not synonyms. If they were synonyms, then what? I use them interchangeably.
Yeah.
But I don't.
They're not equal.
They're not equal. They're different orders of reality. Now, okay. Now, this will become more clear. What if I bring in the, see, confusion, what, huh? We can't solve the problem. Can't solve the, why? Because I have not introduced the third option. That's why I kept it. So now, what if I say this? One is more right than the other. This is a third option. This is shirt. Person B says this is cotton. And now I say, one is more right than the other. How does that sound?
Can't be half right.
One is more right, one is more true to the actual nature of this shirt than the other. Huh? Then it's what? Cotton. Therefore what? You know, this is shirt, this is cotton. How can I solve the problem? I cannot solve, they're both you know, wrong, they're both right. The only way to solve the problem is what? I am not dismissing the shirt, I'm just simply saying one is more right than the other. It means what? Yes, it is cotton, and cotton is actually closer to this object. Therefore, the one who said it's a shirt was actually farther away from the truth. And the one who said it's cotton is closer to the truth. Understand this?
One could say it's also cotton, more cotton, because if you destroy the shirt, it still remains. Like, cotton is more intrinsic. Like if I cut the shirt,
Yeah.
cotton still is.
Yeah, exactly. Good, good. In other words, so what? You know, I cut, and what's gone immediately? I cut these two folds. What's gone? Then the shirt is gone. What remains? That which was there all along. In other words, who's more right? You know, the one whose choice remains even when you destroy the form of person A. Person A said it's a shirt. If you destroy their form, they lose. They lose. Who wins? The one who said it is cotton. Therefore, the one who wins is the one who is what? Closer to the truth. Okay. So now, so in other words, what do we call the shirt now? What do we call the shirt? We call a shirt. What kind of word would you give to the shirt now? Mithya. What does mithya mean? Who said apparent? Apparent. In other words, what else can you say for apparent? Dependent. Apparent. So in other words, this shirt, what? So cotton is apparently obtaining as the shirt. Okay. So in other words, so what? Cotton has an apparent form of a shirt. You understand? So in other words, the shirt is apparent because of what? That which it depends upon, which is its satyam. Now let's analyze our experience a little bit. I want you to think of something without yourself being there. Think of something without yourself. Think of something without yourself. Remember something without yourself. Experience pain in your body without yourself. Have a happy thought without yourself. Hypothesize about what is time and space without yourself. Be ignorant without yourself, please. Can you be ignorant without yourself?
No way.
So what does this mean? Ignorance, what kind of ontological status is ignorance?
Depends on yourself.
No, we need a word. What kind of ontological is Mithya? And what does this ignorance depend upon? Satyam, you. Where is ignorance if I'm not there to go, oh, I'm ignorant? So what does this mean? Okay, what about knowledge? This is knowledge right now. This is knowledge of Vedanta. What does this knowledge of Vedanta depend upon? It depends upon you. You know, it's taking place because you're here. So in other words, even knowledge, right, pramana, a means of knowledge depends upon what? Depends on the one who was all there all along. Okay? So in other words, think of anything without yourself, experience anything without yourself. My God, you know, I will give you $1 million if you succeed. You know, you can't do it. Impossible. So now, so what's one invariable? What's one invariable here? Invariable. Atma. Atma. So it says Atma Satyam. And what is variable? Everything other than that. Okay? Just to shortcut the whole thing, everything other than the one that you just said is Atma. Who is Atma? I am the one who always needs to be present for any experience to, you know, to enjoy its glory. What is Mithya? Anything other than that one. Okay? So you don't have to now go, yeah, Mithya is body, my thought, my memory, this. Anything other than that one, the one that's present for every experience to sort of, you know, depend upon and rest upon is what? Mithya. Okay. Now look at this. Do you need to remove, again I'm going to bring the same question, do I need to remove the shirt to know the cotton? Why not? Because? Knowledge. Because of knowledge. You cognitively understand wherever there is shirt, there is cotton. So now where's the question of removing the shirt? Wherever there is Mithya, that's exactly where Satyam is. So now can you discard Mithya? Can I discard Mithya? No. If I discard Mithya, what am I discarding? I'm discarding Satyam. If I discard Satyam, then what is there left? Who's there left to recognize that something has been discarded? You understand? Wherever there is Mithya, that's exactly where Satyam is. How about this? Do you need to remove your thought to know yourself? Why not? Yeah. Does a thought cover your awareness of the thought? No. And even if you suppose you said yes, yeah, you know, thought has covered my awareness. Oh, really? Thought has covered your awareness? Wow. Tell me about it. Well, you know, I was covered and I didn't know who I am. Amazing. So you knew about the whole experience. This means you were not covered. In other words, the whole experience was still depending upon you. Do you need to remove a thought to know yourself? Maybe this question will be covered a lot deeper as we go through the program. But think about it. If you were to, what? Okay, so suppose you remove a thought, and then what happens? Oh, I removed the thought. Oh, okay, so this means whoever was there before the removal of the thought is still here, you know, after the thought has been removed. So what has changed? Have you changed? No. So in other words, you were there all along, struggling to remove the thought, and even if the thought is removed, you go, I've succeeded at removing a thought. So this means you can only say that in reference to you being there while the thought was there, and therefore what? You never left. You survived the entire ordeal. You survived the ordeal of struggling to remove the thoughts, and you're still exactly the same to witness the thought being what? Removed. In other words, you were not touched at all. You were there all along looking at this, the unnecessary effort of removing your thought. The unnecessary effort of removing certain, notions. Even to remove a notion, what does this imply? The notion still has a reality based upon whom? Based upon you. Based upon you, Satyam. Now, okay. So now let's finish this. We're going to close with Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 6, where the father, right, Udalaka, he has a son called Shwetaketu. And this is a very popular chapter. And he sends his son to a Gurukulam in India, and they study there for 12 years, and they all come back at 24. So now his son Shwetaketu, he finally returns back. And he was, I tell you, the top student. He was like number one. He knew the mantras. He knew the 4 Yajur, Rig, Atharva. Right? He knew all of the Vedas. And he could recite any verse. And he was like top idol for all of the rest of the students. He was number one. Now he came back with a pride. He came back home after his 12 years of study, and he was proud. And his father noticed him, kind of in this big shot. He's now a big shot. He knows about this, he knows about the Vedas, and he's got all these qualifications. And father is just looking at him, acting so cool, and he's lost his humility. And the father says, okay, I want to call my son over. Let me call my son over, and let's have a little chat with him. And he says, Shwetaketu, sit down. Yes, father. What do you want to speak to me about? What has your teacher taught you? Well, my teachers taught me about different Vedas, grammar, epistemology, etymology, again, all these various forms that, Ayurveda, Ajurveda, right? All of these things were taught, science, mathematics, Vedic mathematics, all of these things they taught me. Ah, interesting. Okay, I just want to ask you a question. Has your father, has your school, have your teachers taught you that knowledge, knowing which at once all things instantaneously become known, even if they're the unknowns? Huh? Can you say that again? Oh, of course, says Udalaka. Have your teachers taught you that knowledge, knowing which everything becomes known like that? How is this possible? You're saying, if I know one thing, I will instantly know about everything, even if it's unknown to me. Yes. Okay, so what does this mean? I mean, how does this work? If I look at chapter 1, I don't know chapter 2. If I look at chapter 3, I don't know chapter 4. And now you're saying, if I know one thing, I will know every chapter. I will know the seen and the unseen, the heard and the unheard, the tasted and the untasted. I will know everything at once? Yes. Oh my God, tell me about this. And so the father uses what? An analogy of the pot and made out of what? Clay. So now we can use something better, something more modern, right? Because this has bendability. A pot does not have bendability. So now, he looks at this, this container made out of plastic, and what happens? He says, what inheres this container? What ontological status does it enjoy? Mithya. So in other words, what is its truth? Satyam. So wherever Mithya is, that's where Satyam is. So this means what? If you understand one truth that inheres through and through all forms of containers, of cutlery made out of plastic, a house made out of plastic, engine made out of plastic, the universe made out of plastic, sun made out of plastic, you made out of plastic, air made out of plastic, space made out of plastic, your thoughts made out of plastic, your doubts made out of plastic, everything's made out of plastic, God made out of plastic. If you know what? This one truth, in this case, plastic, you at once know everything, even if you don't know how an engine works, how a planet is formed. Hey, I don't need to know, because what I need to know is one thing only. And what is that? The materials, the periodic table of elements, everything that constitutes the universe is what? Made out of There's one, in this case, one plastic, one truth that inheres through all things. So if I know one plastic, I know the entire universe made out of plastic like that. Oh my God, you need to tell me more about this, says Shwetaketu. And how does the father respond? He says, we will continue this next session tomorrow. Okay? Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.